the thing is, my inner voice doesn't tell me what the painting's going to look like when it's done. My expectations do. And I can come into the painting with an idea that it's going to come out looking a certain way. But my intuition is what is going on during the painting in the moment. So I'm very, very attuned to what am I looking at doing right now. I'm celebrating World Watercolor Month with a new video every day in July. Today, I'm going to be working with the prompt for July 21st, and that word is fragment. I feel like I should be Sesame Street here, fragment. We're going to be looking at just one way of interpreting this subject in watercolor. And when you finish watching today's video, do scroll down to the description below the video. I have friends who are participating in the World Watercolor Month video challenge with me as well. And there's a link so that you can watch their videos and see how they've interpreted this prompt. It's always fun to see the diversity of the different artists creating and just how many different directions we can take just one little keyword. One thing that has been helping me paint all month is having my supplies close at hand. I do have a dedicated studio space, and when I didn't, I tried to work having my materials nearby and easy to grab. There was a time when they were in a bag beside my sofa, so I could paint in the evenings. Later on in my life, when I was busy with my kids, I had a little space carved out so that at nap time I could just run over to my workspace and just pick up wherever I'd left off. I've always tried to keep my materials accessible, and so anything that helps make watercolor more accessible for you is going to make a consistent creative practice just that much quicker. And that's one reason why I love using watercolor blocks. The ones I like the most are made by Hanamulla. This is their collection watercolor block. Look for this cover. And I've been using these for several years now, and just the size is convenient. They come in hot, cold, and rough press textures, and the 140 pound or 300 pound thickness. I'm not too fussy. I like cold press and rough, and I like both 140 pound and 300 pound. So keep an eye open for those. I'll link to the supplies I'm using today in the description below the video. It's just really nice to have quickly accessible paper so I can just start painting. These blocks are gummed on all four sides. I'm just going to take off the little cover sheet here. Comes with this little slip sheet so that the top sheet is always clean. And I just use a palette knife and extreme awkwardness, there we go, to detach that little slip sheet from the page. There we go. And I'm ready to paint. There's no need for stretching or taping or anything like that. This is go time. With today's prompt of fragment, what are we going to do with the word fragment? I could think very literally of a broken piece of something, a fragment of glass. I had an aunt who used to paint or make mosaics, and she was forever shattering china, and that's one direction to take this. But I like the idea of using the prompts as often as possible as verbs more than nouns, as something I could do, or some way of describing my process would be another way to look at it. And so when I think about fragment and I think about pieces, and scattered pieces, maybe broken pieces, portions of a whole, there's a couple of different ways I could take it. One is just that I tend to work kind of with fragments. I like an incompleteness to my art. So this is a painting that was just sitting nearby, and you can see that in this painting there's nothing completely finished and spelled out and crisp. We've got a lot of energy, a lot of movement. We've got the feeling perhaps of a landscape, but there's so much that's kind of left to your imagination. And so I could think about that idea of my art being just a fragment of my imagination, or a piece of the story that I'm trying to tell. And so that's one direction we could take this. But I also was thinking about the idea that all of the watercolor skills that I have are skills that build upon each other. They accumulate. And so whatever I learn from the very beginning of my painting journey to today, I have this ongoing kind of building process of taking what I learned today and adding it into what I learn tomorrow, and bringing all of those pieces together when I start painting. And so in that way, I come to my painting process with just ideas that are pieces of ideas, pieces of the story. And even when I start to paint and I think I have an idea of what I want to paint, I have to recognize that I'm only thinking in fragments again. There's a lot of unfinishedness to even what my imagination can kind of bring. And so today, as I'm sketching just now, I'm looking again at the reference photo I've been working with this month. And I really do like this idea of working in a series, sticking with one idea and letting it kind of evolve throughout over time. So I'm trusting that what I've done in the past, I'm going to bring pieces of that into this process as well. Over beside my desk, and I don't clean up really often, but so beside my desk I have this liquid charcoal, which is made by Schminke. And this particular one is called Cherry Pit Black, which is apt because I was actually pitting cherries today for pie filling. Just that domestic. It was so painful because I'm not that domestic. And I'm just trying to clean a little one of these little, I don't know, sushi soy sauce cups or whatever they are. And it's clean enough. There's a little bit of some kind of turquoise blue down there, but because it's just a fragment, we'll let it live. I'm going to squeeze a little bit of this Cherry Pit Black into this cup. And I like keeping things close by because when I have items that are near to me, they work. I like to look for something I can grab to add into my painting. And so sometimes they serve kind of as prompts as well for just getting me started. So we're going to just work in pieces today and create some way of bringing all the fragments of what I've been working on, what I've been thinking about. We're going to trust that it all comes together. And I think that's the one thing I want to kind of linger over in this prompt today with this idea of fragment, is that with this mindset of trust, there is going to be a way where I can take all of the pieces and find a way to pull them together. The pieces of what I know, and then the little disjointed things that are happening even within the painting. So I'm just kind of thinking of those major shapes from my original sketches that I've done previously this month. Some of these you will have seen and some you won't. You'll remember this from our prompt Sunlight. These might look a little unfamiliar, but they're just me continuing to work with this idea and kind of riff off of it. And this one's from our prompt of Mechanism. And so today it's Fragment. We're working with all of the pieces. And in fact, even the painting I showed you at the very beginning today was, I think, inspired by this same topic, the same reference photo. I think this idea of fragment, this is a beautiful transparent green gold made by Schminke as well. I've got some on my finger, we'll just shove it on there. But this idea of working with fragments is a reminder to me as well that I really can't ever tell the whole story. And I've been thinking about this a lot, just even in my own life, because I have a tendency, my husband will tell you, that if I'll start a sentence thinking that people have been listening to the thoughts in my head. So I've been busily planning my day in my brain, and then all of a sudden I'll just open my mouth and say, when we go to do to the grocery store, we need to make sure we do this. And he has no idea what I'm talking about, because in my head, we've had this conversation. He was a part of the conversation of planning the day, and yet I haven't opened my mouth yet. And so hands up if you do that as well. And I think in art as well, there's a lot we kind of maybe could assume that we're showing in our work, that people get to see what they want to see or what they notice to look for. And what we bring to it, there's a lot that we don't get to say. And I've been thinking about that a lot. How do you paint when you know that you'll never be able to tell the whole story? You'll never be able to capture all the beauty. And just kind of lingering over this green gold and thinking about the next color and what I want to add. But, and I don't know what I want to add. I'm just really taking my time here. I think I'm thinking an orange or a blue, and I've done a lot of blue. Well, let's do some orange. This is a Mars orange made by Core. Just going to touch it into the wet cherry pit black here. Liquid, what did I say? Liquid charcoal. It's going to kind of bleed into the moist color that's already on the page. But I guess I just think a lot about the fact that I don't get to do everything. I don't get to say everything. I don't have, and I never will have, the skill to truly bring you to the place. But I can hopefully grow in skill at showing how I feel about something and sharing a piece of the story, a fragment. We're going to throw some blue in here too. It's just, we're going to linger over the orange for a little bit. This Mars orange is really, really pretty. And give it some flow. One thing I should mention with the spray bottle is I really try not to use too much force. When I'm spritzing with this bottle, I like it to kind of fall like a rain. A little bit of spatter. Right now on the Honamula block, we've got a little puddle here. All paper will ripple as it gets wet, and the blocks don't ripple as much as if the paper were loose. But I'm just going to give that a chance to move to the edge and then blot up the excess. Let's bring in maybe some mark making. I've got this Lyra Aquacolor. This color is called Night Green. We'll see what it does. It almost feels like a phthalo green, which is a little bit brighter than I was thinking of, but I'm just going to put some little fragmented pigment marks. And I'm not really looking at my reference photo. That's one thing I want to mention right now. I've just showed you 4 different versions of the photo. I've also been spending a lot of time in this environment that the reference photo comes from. And so I have a lot of insider knowledge. Okay, I've kind of shifted my movement. I don't know if you noticed that, but I started out just by dot, 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 almost a dotted line. And now I'm doing it's still kind of a dotted line, but it's much more of a line. It's almost like this little dotted contour line. Here the paper is drier, so it's not bleeding out the same way. But I feel like I'm drawing a map or something, and I kind of enjoyed it. I kind of felt a good feeling as I made those little wandering little ant trails. And so I'm going to, when I notice that, when I'm like, oh, that feels good, it feels fun, I'm going to do more of it. Or at least keep doing it for a while. Yeah, so I'm just creating little contours that kind of define where the body of the tree would be, the mass with the leaves. A little water there to just loosen that shape, and maybe a little bit there to loosen that line. I'm going to tilt my board. I usually try to, about this stage of the painting, I usually feel like it's time to work with some of the moisture that's been gathering on the paper and just encourage it to move all in the same direction. It just gives it a little bit of room to move. Let's find a different brush. And so far I've just been using some round brushes, a big quill round, and then this Rosemary & Company number 10, which I think is a synthetic brush. And let's go back to the liquid charcoal. I'm going to go to my handmade Levinson brush because it gets a really nice point going. And we're just going to get a nice amount of the liquid charcoal on the brush. So I have some options, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with this next. I just know that at this stage, usually the color I started with, starting to get lose some of its intensity as additional colors get added to the painting. And so now is a good time to kind of give that starting color a bit of a refresher course. Brighten it up or darken it up in this case on the paper. And I'm continuing to kind of build that mass of trees is what seems to be the intuitive desire. I think another interpretation of the idea of fragment would be this trusting your intuition, trusting that the pieces of knowledge you have about watercolor and your personal style, that you can kind of trust your inner voice and really work to listen to it. And the thing is, my inner voice doesn't tell me what the painting's going to look like when it's done. My expectations do. And I can come into the painting with an idea that it's going to come out looking a certain way. But my intuition is what is going on during the painting in the moment. So I'm very, very attuned to what am I looking at doing right now. And when that kind of sense of let's put a mark over here, oh, I like that mark, let's do more of it, those are the intuitive little voices that I'm trying to pay attention to in the middle point, in the process of the painting. It's not about the outcome. It's much more about what do I want to do? What do I think? What do I feel led to do right now? Okay, I like that. I really like this spot right here, even though I feel like it's this big triangle in the middle of the page. I think probably it can remain a big triangle, but we're just going to make it a little bit more nuanced by bringing in a little bit of this same transparent green gold. If I can throw a little bit of that color in there, and that works. It'll break up the shape. And so now that triangle isn't quite so bossy and intense. When I was thinking on my way to the studio today, on my morning walk, and thinking about this topic, fragment, giving my brain a little chance to kind of mull it over. And by mull it over, I really just kind of let it kind of hover in my subconscious. But I really saw something with a lot of kind of unfinishedness to it. And I'm liking what's happening already on the page. The thing I'm going to do right now is bringing in a piece of something else that I've been enjoying doing, and that's some unsophisticated mark making. So I've got the Mars Orange Deep, which I've been using along here. We've got the orange kind of gives us this path. We have another path with the kind of that turquoise or teal green there. And even the green gold kind of leads us across the page. And then the dark marks kind of dance us all over the page. And so at this stage, I'm going to use my Mars Orange Deep and see if I can't make some unsophisticated marks in the painting and I'm so timid, to just continue to kind of move us through the painting and to create some little pops of stronger emphasis. There's a lot that's kind of small pieces and very soft. But right now, if I grab this Mars Orange, maybe I can make some bigger marks. Oh, I like some of these things. So these are also going to lead us through the page. And they're actually a more interesting mark than I had intended to make, but that's okay. And maybe I'll dilute the Mars. Well, see, if I dilute the Mars Orange, and I've been working with it quite dry, because then when I place a mark, it will mostly stay put. But if I start to dilute the color, then my brush is going to be wetter and the color will not stay put as much, and it might bleed, it might make big blooms. So what I've done instead is I've blotted some of that orange so I can make some lighter, smaller marks. And this is connecting this big mark to this mark and bringing this mark across to there. So now I've got this movement here. And then let's figure out if we can come across here. Let's just be a little bit, let's just commit. And so that's with a little bit more of the transparent. I've blotted a bit so it's a little bit more transparent. I think if I bring in maybe a little bit more of that green. It'll just break up that orange a little bit. Every decision I make in my painting can shift the painting in a new direction. It can see, those are wetter Mars Orange marks, and so then they bleed quickly. But I really want to watch what do I do with my brush and how does it affect the painting. One thing that I hope that this series has been demonstrating to you is that you don't have to spend a long time painting a little landscape. Sometimes, knowing, I actually really like to have my video camera on because it gives me a sense of how long something takes. And so then when my painting doesn't turn out, I don't have to feel devastated that I've, committed so much time to my subject. I'm working at developing the subject in multiple variations, and I've given it 20 minutes, and then in this case it looks like 26 minutes, and so I can feel like I made a small commitment, a little piece of my afternoon, and then from there I can just try again, do it again. Let's bring in, I started out with this big carpenter pencil the general sketching pencil. I like the fact that I can create maybe a broad line with it. It's quite soft. It's a 4B, which I like the B series pencils. I like soft pencils and the big smudgy marks they make. So we're just going to bring a little bit of that into our fragmented landscape. So I used to think pencils and drawing was only for the beginning of the painting, and I didn't feel like I was a good enough sketcher to really make good use of my pencil. And so it's been fun to start to experiment with how I can make marks at different phases of the painting. And I don't actually think this is doing my painting enough, bringing in enough interesting shape and texture to be something I need to continue. Got a little bit of line work going on. Notice how high I'm holding the pencil. I want it to be the marks to be very loose, sketchy, intuitive. If you can encourage yourself to be brave with some scribbly marks in your paintings, whether it's with your brush or your pencil, you are going to have just so much fun. When you realize that I can scribble on my painting and still make something that turns out pretty good, there is a whole lot of freedom that comes with that knowledge, and a lot of trust. Really fun. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I like the liveliness of this. It's interesting because I also feel like with the addition of so much orange, this particular version is moving me towards fall, which will be here before we know it. Let's throw in, just because it's me and just because it's watercolor, let's throw in a little bit of cobalt blue spatter because, oh, that's really nice right there. We'll put a little bit along here, and we're going to just move the eye up. That's going to bring us across, and then bam, and then boom, and then whoosh. I don't know. Sound effect. And then I might as well sign it because I'm pretty happy with this, and I think it would be silly to continue when it's a lovely little fragment of a story of a place that I love. So if you are finished with this, because I know I am, next thing to do is just slide on down to the description below the video. There are links there to the other artists who are creating work for World Watercolor Month and the World Watercolor Month video challenge. So go ahead and click on the links and see what they're up to, how they've interpreted this challenge of Fragment. The other thing you can do is visit the hold it straight. This could take a while. Visit the World Watercolor Month shop at worldwatercolormonth.com. The souvenir items are limited edition watercolor products. I don't know where mine are. There's the insulated travel mugs. I like this tumbler. It's my water cup for when I'm doing live stream video. And my limited edition World Watercolor Month pouches there, as well as products from other artists who are participating in World Watercolor Month. Love this. Kind of looks like it might be related to the painting we just did, don't you think? Take a look again at the description below the video. I've got supplies linked there as well. And if you're playing along, if you're painting along with today's lesson, do post it on social media. Use the hashtag World Watercolor Month so we can all see it. You can tag me in it as well. And happy painting. Thanks for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with more watercolor advice you can learn from. Don't forget to include the hashtag World Watercolor Month when you participate and post watercolor art in July.